The purpose of this four-part video series is to familiarize you with the operation and basic maintenance procedures for the Type AS-32 R-11 fuel servicing tank truck manufactured by Kovach Corporation of Nesquehoning, Pennsylvania. This video series is intended to support the information in the technical manual that accompanies this vehicle. It is designed to give you a visual orientation to the R-11 tank truck so that you can become familiar with the truck's major components and their primary functions during fueling and defueling operations. This series is divided into four parts: general information, safety guidelines, preparation for use, and theory of fuel flow operation; cab components and operation; tanker truck components and operation for fueling and defueling; and routine maintenance and basic troubleshooting. We begin in video number 1 with some general information about the AS-32 R-11 fuel servicing tank truck. The R-11 is a 6,000-gallon refueler designed to provide a mobile fuel supply source for any type U.S. Air Force aircraft with fuels conforming to MIL T 5624 and MIL T 83133. Types of fuel servicing modes include high flow refueling, low flow refueling, and defueling. The R-11 performs in any ambient temperature from 125 degrees Fahrenheit to minus 40 degrees Fahrenheit under normal operating conditions. It is capable of fueling at a flow rate up to 625 gallons per minute or GPM, and defueling at a flow rate of up to 175 GPM. The R-11 is 38 feet long, approximately 9 feet wide, 8.5 feet high, and weighs 70,000 pounds when the fuel tank is fully loaded. Here is a review of some of the terms that will be used throughout this video when referring to the positioning of various items on the truck. This is the top view, the front view, and this is the rear view of the truck. The term curbside means the right side as viewed from the rear. The term street side means the left side of the vehicle as viewed from the rear. Let's take a look around the truck for a visual orientation to some of the major exterior components of the R-11 and its fueling system. On the street side behind the cab is the pumping compartment, protected by a roll top cover. Notice that it contains the fuel servicing hose reel, various controls and indicators, and the meter assembly. Moving across the street side of the truck to the right of the control panel is one of the two floodlights located on the truck. Next, you see an optional hose reel and compartment. The fire extinguisher, one of two on the truck, static ground rails, and the wheel chock storage box. Street side behind the wheels is the bottom loading system, the vapor recovery system, and the second floodlight. At the rear of the truck is a ladder to provide access to the catwalk on top of the truck's fuel tank. On the tank top street side are several cleaning access ports. In the center of the catwalk is the manhole and vent system. Directly in front of the curbside rear wheels is a storage box intended to hold a spill containment kit. The second fire extinguisher, the fuel tank sump, and the filter separator assembly, which is located inside the pumping compartment behind the cab and protected by a roll-top cover. We will take a much more detailed look at these components and controls during the operational instruction in video number 3. The diesel engine R-11 is in compliance with current Department of Transportation federal motor vehicle safety standards and regulations regarding air pollution and noise levels from the Environmental Protection Agency. The Vehicle Identification Number, or VIN, is a 17-character serial number located on the vehicle identification decal attached to the rear face of the street side door frame. The VIN shows a series of serial numbers used for warranty registration and parts ordering. A cab serial plate is attached to the front face of the street side door frame. The engine serial number is located on the cylinder block, just below the cylinder head on the street side. The chassis serial number is stamped on the curbside frame rail above the front axle. You will also notice various schematics and nameplates next to some of the components on the truck. The R-11 may be transported in accordance with MIL HDBK 1791 in the C-130, C-141, C-5, and the C-17 aircraft. Safety is a #1 priority when operating the R-11 fuel servicing tank truck. It is extremely important that you understand and follow the safety precautions that appear in the technical manual and this video series. The safety summary can be found in the technical manual. The safety precautions are in place to ensure the personal safety and health of Air Force personnel, as well as preventing serious damage to the equipment. Throughout this video series, you will see special graphics appear on the screen during instruction for various procedures. These graphics are warning, caution, and note. These graphics coincide with information in the technical manual. They are meant to draw your attention to certain safety precautions during operation of the vehicle and its fueling system. A warning highlights an essential operating or maintenance procedure, which, if not strictly observed, could result in injury, long-term health hazards, or death to personnel. A caution highlights an essential operating or maintenance procedure, which, if not strictly observed, could result in damage to or destruction of equipment or loss of mission effectiveness. A note highlights an essential operating or maintenance procedure, but is not critical for the protection of personnel or equipment. Turbine jet fuel has a high potential to generate static charges and has vapors that are usually in the flammable range. Wear only approved non-spark producing shoes and clothing. Check the vehicle carefully for fuel leaks and report all spills immediately. Static grounding bonding cables must be attached to aircraft and suitable ground before any pumping operation is performed. Always establish the static ground for the tank truck before connecting the second static ground clip to the unit being refueled. Never attempt any fueling operation until the grounding bonding is complete. Static electricity can also be a concern when working around sensitive instruments. Static electricity can jump from fingers, hands, elbows, and hand tools. Personnel working on electronic sensors, modules, and instrument clusters must be careful to prevent static charges from building up. Ground wrist straps must be worn while working on electrical units. Other safety precautions include no smoking within 50 feet of the refueler. Be certain that the fire extinguishing equipment is available and operational. Remove watches, rings, and all other jewelry. These items could result in injury or death to personnel or damage to the equipment. This equipment discharges deadly fumes when operating. Death by suffocation may result if operated indoors without exhaust gases being ducted outdoors. Make sure that the exhaust ventilation system is free of debris and is large enough not to restrict airflow. Now let's review the steps necessary to prepare the vehicle for use. The information in this portion of the video can be found in the technical manual in Work Package 4. First, perform a thorough inspection to detect any damage that may have occurred during shipment and to determine if any parts are missing. Carefully examine all parts of the R-11 to be certain any items that were installed to protect the truck mounted equipment during transit were removed. Each vehicle has been completely serviced prior to shipment, with lubricants as specified for the climatic conditions at the point of origin. Further lubrication other than replenishment of lubricant quantities found to be deficient due to leakage, spillage, or consumption should not be necessary unless climatic conditions differ greatly from those at the point of origin at the time of shipment. If this is the case, drain, flush, or otherwise remove all lubricants and service the vehicle according to the lubrication chart in Work Package 6 of the technical manual. After the initial inspection of the R-11, perform a check of the various engine fluid levels in accordance with the lubrication chart in Work Package 6 of the manual. After the vehicle has been stopped for a few minutes and parked on level ground, release the engine cover latches and open the engine cover. With the engine still stopped, check the engine oil level. Add oil as necessary to bring the level to the full mark on the dipstick. With the engine running and in neutral, check the transmission fluid level using the transmission oil dipstick. Bring level to the full mark on the dipstick. Warning: never remove the cap from a hot radiator. Severe burn potential exists. Allow the radiator to become cool to the touch before removing the cap for a coolant level check. With the engine running at normal operating temperature, check the coolant level in the overflow bottle. Coolant should be up to the max mark on the side of the bottle. If additional coolant is necessary, stop the engine. Remove the cap from the overflow bottle and add coolant as necessary to bring to the max mark. Then reinstall cap. Check the power steering reservoir. Add the specified lubricant as necessary to bring to full. Next, check the windshield washer solvent level and add enough to bring to full. With the engine running, check the air filter condition indicator on the inside cab dashboard. The indication should be in the green area. If the indicator shows in the red area, shut off the engine and replace the filter element within the air filter assembly in accordance with the instruction in Work Package 6. Check the PTO gearbox oil level by removing the oil level check plug on the gearbox. The oil level should be at the bottom edge of the hole. Add lubricant if necessary to bring to the proper level, then reinstall the plug. Also check that the breather on the PTO gearbox is clean and unobstructed. Next, perform an oil check on the rear axle housing. Remove the fill check plugs. The lubricant should be at the bottom of the filler hole. Add fluid if necessary to bring the level to full and then reinstall plugs. Also check that the axle vents are clean and unobstructed. Before you check the batteries, warning: do not permit lighted cigarettes or any open flame within 50 feet of an open battery box. Batteries emit flammable hydrogen gas that could be ignited by cigarettes or open flame, causing serious injury. Check the battery state of charge and charge as necessary. Release the two cover hold downs and remove the cover from the battery box. Check the battery connections. Clean and tighten if necessary. Check the operation of all controls. Make certain all controls function properly. Check that all the lights function properly and that no lenses are broken. Check the tires for proper inflation pressure. Add air if necessary. Refer to Work Package 6 in the manual for proper tire inflation pressure. Also check the tires for any cuts or other damage. Remove any foreign objects that may be lodged in the tread or between the rear dual tires. Test the horn to ensure proper operation. Check each of the air lubricator reservoirs to be certain that each reservoir contains air lubricator oil. The air lubricators are located by the main fuel servicing hose reel and the auxiliary fuel dispensing hose reel. Make certain the tank sump drain valve at the bottom of the tank sump and the filter separator sump drain valve below the pumping compartment are closed. Check the brake safety interlock system by performing the following steps. First, remove the underwing fueling nozzle from its stowed position and connect it to the bottom loading adapter. Then attempt to release the parking brakes and drive the truck away. If the brakes release and the truck will move, the safety interlock system is malfunctioning. Refer the problem to service personnel. If the brake will not release and the truck will not move, the safety interlock system is operating properly. Now the final stage in preparing the R-11 for use is to fill the cargo fuel tank. Warning: do not perform the initial fill of the filter separator at the high flow fuel rate. Static-induced ignition of the fuel is possible if the filter separator vessel is filled at high flow rates. Perform the following procedures to slowly fill the filter separator and allow internal pressure to rise to normal operating pressure. Check for leaks. Connect the fuel servicing nozzle to the bottom loading adapter. Select the engine at idle speed. Select low flow mode. Activate the deadman and observe the meter. When the meter starts to register flow, the filter separator is full. Check the brake safety interlock system. Release the deadman and shut down the engine. Safely stow the deadman control. Disconnect the fueling nozzle from the bottom loading adapter and rewind the fuel hose. Safely stow the fueling nozzle. To prepare the R-11 for shipment or storage, please refer to the instruction in the Technical Manual Work Package 4. Before we take a look at the controls and fueling operations in videos 2 and 3, it is important for you to gain a basic knowledge of the theory of operation for the R-11 and what happens during the high and low flow fueling, recirculation, defueling, and dedrumming operations. During high flow fueling, fuel is drawn from the tank through the emergency shutoff valve, the check valve, pump shutoff valve, and Y strainer by pump P1. Pump P1 sends fuel flow through this pump shutoff valve to the filter separator, where particles and water are filtered from the fuel. From the filter separator, the fuel flows through the flow control valve, which regulates the fuel flow rate. The fuel then flows through the meter, which measures the total amount of flow and the flow rate. The fuel then moves on through the venturi. The venturi is used to generate a fuel pressure signal to simulate the actual pressure at the fueling nozzle. The fuel continues on through the normally open air-operated butterfly valve and normally closed air-operated butterfly valve to the servicing hose reel. The fuel is then dispensed through the fueling hose and under-wing nozzle. During low flow fueling, fuel is drawn from the tank through the emergency shutoff valve, the check valve, the pump shutoff valve, and the Y strainer by pump P1. Pump P1 then sends fuel flow through this pump shutoff valve to the filter separator, where particles and water are filtered from the fuel. From the filter separator, the fuel flows through the control valve, which regulates the fuel flow rate. The fuel then flows through the meter, which measures the total amount of flow and the flow rate. The fuel then moves on through the venturi. The venturi is used to generate a fuel pressure signal to simulate the actual pressure at the fueling nozzle. Fuel then flows through the normally closed butterfly valve to the auxiliary hose reel. Fuel is then dispensed through the reel hose and over wing nozzle. During defueling, fuel is either pumped from the aircraft by the aircraft internal pump or drawn from the aircraft by the refueler pump P1. Fuel flows from the aircraft through the fueling nozzle and hose to the hose reel. From the hose reel, fuel flows from the normally closed butterfly valves and Y strainer to the pump P1. The pump sends the fuel flow through this pump shutoff valve to the filter separator, where particles and water are filtered from the fuel. From the filter separator, the fuel flows through the flow control valve, which regulates the fuel flow rate. The fuel then flows through the meter, which measures the total amount of flow and the flow rate. Then through the venturi, the normally closed butterfly valve, and the check valve into the fuel tank. During recirculation, fuel is drawn from the tank through the emergency shutoff valve, the check valve, the pump shutoff valve, and the Y strainer BU pump P1. The pump then sends fuel flow through the pump shutoff valve to the filter separator, where particles and water are filtered from the fuel. From the filter separator, the fuel flows through the flow control valve, which regulates the fuel flow rate. The fuel then flows through the meter, which measures the total amount of flow and the flow rate, through the venturi, the normally closed butterfly valve, and the check valve, then into the fuel tank. A de-drumming adapter is provided to allow fuel to be drawn from a source other than the refueler 6,000-gallon tank. This fuel may be sent to the refueler tank through a defueled circuit. During de-drumming, fuel will be drawn from the alternate source through the adapter, de-drumming adapter butterfly valve, and the Y strainer to pump P1. The pump sends the fuel flow through this pump shutoff valve to the filter separator, where particles and water are filtered from the fuel. From the filter separator, the fuel flows through the flow control valve, the meter, the venturi, the butterfly valve, and then into the fuel tank. All of this information on the theory of operation for the various fuel flow procedures, plus diagrams, can be found in Work Package 2 of the manual. This concludes video number 1 for the R-11.